Alright guys, how's it going? It's me. And riddle me this. How long has it been since I've actually made a YouTube video? Riddle me that. I don't know. Actually, that's why I'm asking, because I actually don't know. It's been a very long time. I guess that's what happens when you become a salaryman. And, well, not really. I just have been busy with other things, as I've said a million times before. However, on the topic of salaryman, that is what today's video is going to be about. So I've been getting a lot of messages and questions from friends about, like, you know, how do I transition out of being an English teacher into another field of work in Japan? Like, I want to stay in Japan, but I don't want to do this teaching thing forever. I want to try different things. Anthony, how did you do it? How did you get from teaching to what you're doing now? And for those of you who don't know, what I'm doing now is I'm a salesman. I work at a Japanese company doing sales. And yeah, I was at ALT for 3 years, and then I got my job now that I have now. And I've been in this job for, about 2 years now. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to make a video. Maybe this could be useful for anyone out there who's trying to look into other fields of work within Japan. And yeah, so let's get into it. So the first piece of advice I would give to anyone who wants to work outside of teaching English in Japan is, of course, as I've said a million times probably in some of my other videos, you have to learn Japanese. Now I'll put a little asterisk there because, and I'll get into this later, it's not a necessity, like as in if you don't speak Japanese it's impossible. However, you have to realize that if you're going from being an English teacher to working in pretty much any other industry, the chances that you will need Japanese go up so much. And even, when I was in ALT, I was in Akita, and it was very rural, very Naka. And so, Japanese really did help me a lot, not only in, my life, but also in the workplace. I know, like, the teachers that I work with felt more comfortable working with me because I spoke Japanese and I can understand Japanese. I was able to enjoy a lot of the time with the kids. I mean, I loved talking with the kids and hanging out with the kids and just, getting to know them and messing with them and stuff. And that's only possible if you know Japanese. So, if you think about how useful it is to know Japanese as an English teacher when you don't even have to know it. Think about if you're outside of that role. Now you're working alongside Japanese people at a Japanese company perhaps. And, so you gotta think, why wouldn't you need Japanese? It's kind of a no-brainer. So Japanese, get your Japanese level up there. Start with the JLPT, and the minimum is gonna be N2. N2 is kind of like bare minimum for a lot of companies. N1 is preferred. If you have N1, I mean, that's the highest for the JLPT, so you're considered like fluent, and you can work alongside Japanese people if you have N1. You can read and respond to emails and all that. Obviously not perfectly, because we're not Japanese, so perfection isn't really what's going to be sought after. But what is going to be sought after is the fact that you will be expected to be able to communicate. So not only the JLPT, but also spoken Japanese, because if you're going to be working at a Japanese company, the odds that you'll be functioning in Japanese are extremely high. So that means also speaking, listening. My interviews for my company were 90% in Japanese. I had a little bit in English because one of the sales managers is an American, but other than him, everyone else was Japanese. So, you're gonna have to be able to have confidence in your speaking. And again, perfection is not the goal here. It's to be able to communicate effectively, have confidence in what you're understanding. And you want to speak politely, at least Teinego. You don't have to know Keigo. Everyone's like, Keigo's so blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Keigo's a pain, we know. But most companies aren't really gonna expect you to be fluent in Keigo, so don't worry too much about that. It's good to know, and you'll learn as you go, but start with just mastering Teinego, learning how to use that, how to speak to people, whatever. So that, Japanese. And the reason why I put the asterisk there is because there is a way to avoid the Japanese if you have some other major skill that you can contribute. So I'm thinking of people who are, working these jobs that are highly sought after, usually white collar jobs. And that can be done, usually remotely, but sometimes in the office. And a lot of companies want these types of people, whether or not they speak Japanese, because they can contribute to a need that the company has that might be hard to meet. And, so an example of it might be like programming. Programmers can typically, whether their Japanese is great or not, get work because if it's they call it gaishike. Gaishike is like a foreign company, especially if it's a foreign company, because there are going to be other foreigners there. You might not necessarily need Japanese, but you will need to come with a skill that you can give to the company. So teaching is a great skill if you want to stay in education, but if you're leaving that, you need to learn new skills like programming, accounting, project management, engineering, stuff like that, that you will be able to get into a company without having that high Japanese level. That being said, having that plus Japanese will pretty much make you unstoppable. So for me, what I did is I took the Japanese route. I was a Japanese major in university. I spent so many hours studying Japanese, reading, writing, speaking. Well, writing, I can't write kanji. I don't care to write kanji. It's a waste of time in my opinion, at least for where I'm at now. But yeah, so I went the Japanese route, meaning I wasn't really able to bring a whole lot to the table, but I was able to bring Japanese level with being a native English speaker and a good work ethic, meaning I'm willing to learn. Obviously, if you get your foot in the door with good Japanese, you'll have to learn another skill. So now I'm learning sales and about manufacturing and all that. So which has been a lot of fun, challenging but fun, fun but challenging. I don't know. But yeah, so just be ready to, you'll have to expand your horizons. And as far as the actual process of leaving teaching, so obviously you don't want to quit a job before you have something lined up. If it's something like Jet where there's a contract and you'll be ending, try to make sure you have something lined up before that is over. So for me, my contract was over in August. I started doing the shukatsu, right? The job hunting stuff. Basically from February. So I recommend career fairs, or sometimes you can even work with a recruiter. So recruiters might be able to help you sometimes. There are recruiters who specialize in helping bilingual people find jobs. So that could always be an option. But yeah, so since if you're like me and your visa is dependent on your job, if you don't have a job, you'll only have 3 months to get a job before you become illegal. And you'll have to leave Japan, obviously. So try to have something lined up before you quit. If you want to leave teaching and you can't find something and your contract's about to end, get another teaching job to give you some leeway. Maybe you can, if you're in a rural area, you can come closer to Tokyo and take your time a little more with job hunting. I know some people who do that. But again, yeah, try and get the ball rolling soon, because when you know your contract's ending, you're not going to want to wait till last minute. But yeah, so basically I touched on it a second ago, but the process is going to be, you're going to want to make your resumes in Japanese, which is your Ireksho and your Shokumukei Ireksho. Those are completely in Japanese. You can look those up, and there's examples online of how to write one and what to write and whatever. So I wrote those, and I had my Japanese friends look over them to make sure my sentences were okay and nothing looked weird. And my Japanese friends were kind enough to touch them up and all that. So use all those resources, and you'll be sending those out to companies. If you're working with a recruiter, you'll send those to recruiters. There's a lot of recruiting websites too where you can put your information in and you can see job postings and stuff. Some in English, some in Japanese. I used both. But then once you do that, you'll get some interviews, and if you pass multiple interviews, you'll get what they call a night day. And a night day is an offer from a company to join. So yeah, And that's kind of what happened with me. So I probably applied to like 50 companies over the course of 2-3 months. Got, how many interviews? Under 20 probably, but yeah, maybe 12, 13, 14, 15 interviews, somewhere along there. I really don't remember. And from those, I actually got 2 offers. So if you think about it in terms of your chances, the greater the better. And another piece of advice I would give is expand your horizons. Be willing to do something you might not think is exactly what you would want to do. So for me, I was really trying to get into like entertainment or the game industry because I like those industries as a hobby and all that. But those are very competitive. And although I did have some interviews with some of those companies, ultimately none of them worked out. And I was glad that I had some other companies that I could fall back on, so to speak. And who's to say that I would for sure have preferred to do some of those jobs over the job I'm doing now. There are pluses and minuses to everything. So yeah, I do enjoy doing sales, and I'm liking the company. It's a good company. My company is pretty white where I work, actually, and it sounds weird, but thanks to COVID, it became very white, I think. Not a whole lot of overtime for me. Even if I do work overtime, I would get paid for it. Management is very kind. And I'm hearing from the Japanese people as well that it's turned very white in the past couple years, so I'm very happy to hear that. So yeah, just do your research, and yeah, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And so remember, invest in the Japanese, and or invest in other serious professional skill. I even know someone who was an ALT and was like, oh, I want to break out of this, and he asked me for some advice, and I told him just what I'm telling you, and he went and did some like coding boot camp thing for like, I think 6 months or something like that, and a year later he got a job as like a programmer. And I'm like, wow, this kid really put in the work, and he did it, so that's pretty awesome, so doesn't necessarily have to be Japanese, but if you want to stay in Japan, knowing Japanese is going to be helpful anyway, so there's always that route. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, you can post them in the comments. And yeah, that's why I kept the shirt on for you guys. Look at this. This is a Salaryman shirt. Think I would wear this under any other circumstance? Well, think again, because I probably wouldn't. Actually, I don't know. I like the baby blue, but anyways, if you guys need any advices or anything, hit me up in the comments. Man, it's been so long since I did this. I hope you guys are doing good. God bless. Talk to you guys later. Peace out.